Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Huskers Happy Hour. Or as we're going to try and brand it and have a little fun with it. That's right, the Triple H. We can just refer to it as the Triple H. It just rolls off the tongue. It gives me the freedom to, using the old suck it and having some fun that way. Um, got a little bit to talk about tonight. We had the Dana Holgorsen analyst hire dropped on us last week, and less than a week later, he's our new offensive coordinator. We will get to him. First of all, let's see who got in first this time. It was Justin Rogie in first last night after the show was posted. Fred Sacco was in second, first on the show, and the gentleman that he is, and in honor of, I guess, calling it the Triple H, and invites Mr. Rogie to suck it. Not deterred. He says, "Let's get the party started." And holy cow, we got Blaine Cole from Japan. Dang, welcome aboard, Blaine. What time is it there? Interesting. My favorite Huskers of all time. It's not a short list. I'll just throw a few of the names that come to mind immediately. I am hip, Jarvis Redwine. I just love them for their cool names, and I arrived about the same time here they did. Tommy Frazier, Eric Crouch, Ndamukong Suh, the Browns, Mike and Ralph. Could do that all night, but yeah. Welcome from Japan. That's great. Pitt Snipe, hey, back at you. And let's see. Blaine says it is 11 a.m. Wednesday there. Okay, it's an 8 p.m. Central here. Let's see who some of the others' favorites are before we get going. We're in no rush yet. Fred says Wisterman and Sue. Good choices. Rogie says, yeah, Amir Abdullah and Levante David. I can't argue with either one of those. I love those guys. We were just talking about the Husker running backs of, say, the mid 2000s or whatever you want to call it, and how they all made the pros. It was Abdullah, Roy Halu, and Rex Burkhead, and I think the three of them are like 4, 5, and 6, or 5, 6, and 7 all time. All of them, went on to the NFL. Amir Abdullah is still playing in the NFL. I really think he's on a lot of rosters because he's never really been a starter. But I think he's the kind of guy that NFL head coaches want around setting the example on how to be a good pro. Let's see. Fred says, Behringer and Frazier if he's talking offense. Burnt World, Jeff Kinney, number 35, and Lawrence Phillips. And yep, Halu, underrated. I always forgot about him. He always seemed to be doing pretty well and getting his carries. And then I just remember that Missouri game when he just blew up for the 308 yards or whatever it was, the single game rushing record, first guy over 300 in a game, and just seemed like he was breaking off a touchdown run. Anytime you ran to fill your cup or try to sneak off to the bathroom, you came back and Halu was running down the sideline like a ball of butcher knives. He had a wild way of running that made him look like a guy who'd be really kind of painful to tackle if you got him, when he had some speed going. Pitt has Dave Remington and Sue. Blaine's going with Corey Schlesinger and Eric Crouch at the moment. Hoping some future stars emerge. We might have a few guys on this team that they might be talking about that way down the road. I think Ty Robinson sure is carving out a nice finish for himself, and just imagine what he could be doing if they called holding. Thanks to our photographer Steve Bruce for catching so many times where here's like Ty tried to blow by somebody, you just see an arm wrapped around him from behind, and in the Big Ten, offensive holding simply doesn't exist. Let's do a few more players, and then we'll get to I want to do the Southern Cal preview real quick, and then we'll get to what everybody wants to talk about. Yeah, Rathman and Craig pretty high on Pitt's list. Yep, that's solid. Talk about carving out a career for himself. Roger Craig, wow, all the Super Bowl titles. He just ended up being like perfect back at the perfect time for that team. Yep, there's I am hip from Don Dre. Don, welcome. Yeah, Phillips, such a great runner, such a tragedy. It really was. That could be that could be a whole episode right there. So complicated dude to say the least. Oh, Fred goes before Minnie gets in. I'll answer for her. Dylan is first. Every other Husker is second. Yeah, Minnie question. Blaine from Japan just wanted. He new to the show, or first time I remember the name popping up, and he just wanted to know. Got it started. Who's everybody's favorite Husker? Good job. Yeah, if Kenny Bell had a QB, Kenny is just one of my favorite dudes. Just such a fun guy. And I remember Kenny Bell. I think if I'm remembering this correctly, he's a bit of a hockey nut. And I think it was at the World Cup or the Olympics. It was this international hockey, and Kenny's just going down like naming the line, like Sweden's first three lines. He like knew every team, and he was tweeting about it, and we enjoyed that. Let's see. Rogie Baldwin, yeah, Scotty Baldwin. Wow, yeah. I was wondering if somebody was going to bring this up. Watched Run the Naked Mile up Vine, yeah, and then tried running it again in Omaha and got shot for his troubles there. Ugh, Scotty. That talk about problems, but yeah, we've got to admit we have a couple of running backs with some pretty sad stories. Let's see, we got Zizach in here. Good evening, Zizach, and agree with the sentiment. Go Big Red all day long. If you like and didn't get them in there yet, if you're new to the show, put a comment in. We'll say hi. You'll be able to tell pretty quick. I run a lot of this off the comments. Not that it's just totally unscripted, but I really enjoy the commenters here. Let's go ahead and get into the USC preview. Got a lot of stuff written down tonight. I want us to get to know Mr. Holgorsen a little better. For those of you who may not. Southern Cal is going to be switching up quarterbacks, and I'm looking. I don't have Miller's stats up here. Here are Jayden Maiava. There's a difference. I was trying to read up when I saw that he was the Rock's nephew, and there's this whole back and forth about who's related to who, because King Peter Maivia, and I guess his real name was Peter Anderson, married, or let's see, his wife, they adopted a kid, or somebody adopted her. I'm not going to go all the way down that tree, just that Maiava is actually the family name, and Maivia was the last name they used for wrestling. The Rock started off as Rocky Maivia, and then before he became The Rock or whatever. But anyway, apparently Jayden Maiava, the starter for Southern Cal this weekend, he transferred last year. He's the Rock's he's Rocky's uncle. He's the Rock's his uncle. Apologies. He played for UNLV last year, and here's his numbers. Not overly impressive on the passing side, pretty decent. It looks like a guy that would, if they played 12 or 13 games, he's throwing it 25, 30 times a game. But adjusted for the sacks, with the sacks taken out, 62 carries for 341 yards and 5.5 yards a carry. And what he did was he entered the portal. He transferred to Georgia and then reneged on that transfer and chose Southern Cal instead. Now, I didn't really catch the whys of all of that. And I thought it was an odd transfer, because usually you're looking for a path to starting right away if you can, or if you're younger. He's a sophomore, where there seems to be an opening or a need there. And even with Raiola transferring out of Georgia, they've still got Gunnar Stockton looking like he'll be starting next year, and a couple more, 4 or 5 star type guys behind him. So they're not really looking to, I think, add another quarterback. And then one of their backups, and his name slips me at the moment, he's the guy who originally committed to Florida, and they had supposedly promised him like a $13.1 million 4-year package for NIL. And so he committed there, and then it turned out they didn't have the money. And so he backed off on that commitment. I think that's fair. And UNLV knows a little about that because apparently their quarterback who started this season for them was promised some money. They didn't come up with the money they promised. And he said, well, I am done for the year and I'm saving this year as a red shirt and I'm entering the portal. So, we won't have the whole NIL discussion. I'll just say, if you treat college football players like anybody else who works for a corporation that generates a ton of money, and they promise you that money and don't pay it, you're probably leaving that job. But anyway, it's going to be Jayden Maiava, and the difference you'll see, I thought it was kind of an odd quarterback shift. I didn't get a chance to dig deep enough to see what Miller Moss, who'd been their starter all year, what his last couple of games were like. But his stats aren't that bad. It's like he's 233 of 362, through their 9 games, and for 2,500 yards, and completes 64.4. Doesn't appear to be a bad completion. 18 TDs to 9 interceptions. You might like a little better than 2-1, but that's better than what Maiava was doing at UNLV. But you look at Miller Moss's running, and it's just not there. Basically, he just gets sacked, and there's never a designed running play. There may be an occasional scramble, and it doesn't appear to go for much. So you're putting in somebody mobile against us, and just historically, we haven't handled mobile quarterbacks the best. So it's concerning, but it's at least we're getting a guy making his first Power 4 start. So hopefully a defense like ours can rattle them a little. And I mentioned Miller Moss's stats because if they do rattle him, I suspect he'll be back in there. The leash might be a little short on Jayden Maiava's first start. Now here's the guy to watch out for. Their running back, Woody Marks. He is their runner. He's not really splitting carries with anybody. He's averaging close to 100 yards a game. And he scored 9 TDs. But notice he's very much a part of the passing game. He is, I believe, their leading reception guy with 37 catches for 260 yards. They spread it out a lot, kind of like we do. They have 5 receivers. I guess that should be either he has 35 catches. I made a mistake. It's either 35 or 37. But they have 5 receivers in that range of catches. The guy listed was Mekhi Lemon. He looks like the long threat. He averages over 13 yards a catch, and like the next closest are a couple guys over 11. He's got 3 TDs, and he's got a long reception of 70 yards. And I think their second longest one's for another player's 30 or something like that. So he's clearly appears to be the guy that they might heave it downfield to. Let's take a look at where they stand. Now this is kind of weird. Now they're 31st total offense in the country in D1, and that's the 437 yards a game you see. However, their 30.6 points per game are only the 51st best in the country. So looks like they kind of have a little trouble punching it in. So maybe that's the reason Maiava is getting the start. I think that's one of the big reasons that Satterfield has gotten pulled for Dana Holgorsen is just our inability to do anything interesting in the red zone and especially inside the 10. So, that could have something to do with it. Their defense isn't great, but there's another discrepancy there. They are 72nd in total defense at 370 yards a game, but in points per game given up, they're at 22.2. That's actually 46th best in the country. So this is a defense that might give us trouble depending on how things actually change up this week. I would say with Satterfield in there, definitely would have given us trouble because it appears to be a defense that lets you in deep but doesn't let you score, that lets you move down the field and then shut you down. And we kind of go up the field and tend to shut ourselves down. I remember Purdue, we got all those yards in the first half and had 0 to show for it. And it just seems like we get inside the 10 and go, hey, we're lining it straight up. We're putting that fullback in we promised you, and we're coming right up your gut. And just everybody is strong enough pretty much that there's not too many teams we're just going to line up against and overpower them, especially in the Big Ten. We're not the 94-95 pipeline anymore. I think our offensive line is okay. I don't think it's the problem. They've had a few times where there's been breakdowns, sure, but I don't feel they're getting muscled around anymore. But you're just not going to do that lineup and run guys over. Little misdirection. Let Dillon throw it inside the 10 for God's sake. He'd probably have 7 or 8 more touchdowns. But we just seemed to go away from that until UCLA. We did let him toss one, I believe, is to Nior. But anyway, that's what they look like. Let's see. We didn't change up too much after UCLA. Most of those yards and points were in our defensive wheelhouse, where we're still 16th in the country in total defense at 302 yards a game. And our 18, we went up a tad, 18.1 points per game. And that's still good for 16 or 21st in the country. So the defense is fine. The offense slid a little more. They actually, I think, stayed about the same in total offense at 358 yards per game, and the 25 points per game that dropped a little to 99th. So Dana, the table's set for you, buddy. I'll check some comments here. I see some more came in, and throw in there how you think this game's going to go. Because it's such an X factor now. What can Holgorsen do in 2 weeks? And we'll get to his numbers next, just to how effective he can really be, and how his game kind of changed a little over the years. But yeah, tell me what you think of this game. I like that they have a new quarterback. I'm not that fired up about our chances to go win on the road against these guys. I said it after UCLA, and I wasn't being mean, and we talked about it last Tuesday. It was like, hey, come on, stay with the team and everything. But my thing, it's just, here's the thing: is I do my predictions, and I know when it comes to the Huskers, I'm letting my love of the team get in the way, and I've basically said, from here out, playing to get that 6th win, playing to break that streak against ranked teams, things like that. I'm going to have to pick us to lose, because we just, in those one score games, our record's probably like, under like 250 or around 250. Our winning percentage in those are lower recently. And we're just over playing for bowl eligibility for the last 8 years. I've just got to pick us to lose until we win. Change the narrative, and I'll change the predictions. So my prediction is a 1-score loss. I think that's fair. I don't think we're going to blow the offense apart. I want desperately to be proven wrong. I just want some, what do you call it? A little more creativity and play calling, shall we say, and not just giving up Bud Dillon and having him throw passes behind the line all day. Look at it. They opened him up in the second half of UCLA, and he was doing fine until he got hurt. So I'm picking us to lose. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I hope something happens. I hope we get enough. I hope there's enough changes made to just get that 6th one out of the way right now. That's all I care about anymore. I see things like, a week ago here, guys, hey, if we went out, we can go 9-3 and go bowling on New Year's Day. I'm like, when the hell have we gone 9-3? Just get us to 6 and we can have all these dreams. And I'm really thinking about going out and getting like a long sleeve T-shirt with Cobby on it and the number 6, and then that's just gonna be it. But let's take a look at comments here. Let's see, where did we leave off? Okay, let's see. We skipped over a few, but let's see. We got here. Rhule's interview, he makes it clear Haarberg is practicing back at quarterback. Players in Lincoln do talk. Well, he even said it's just I didn't catch any tweets or any news. There was no press conference after a practice on Tuesday or anything. But Monday he said Dillon will try to practice on Tuesday, and so that just means that back injury is still bothering him. You need that to be loose. You just do. And I didn't hear anything, but the plan right now is until Dillon shows he's, full strength and ready to go, they are going to practice Haarberg as if there's a chance he'd be starting to. So that's where we are with that. Yeah, shoot, I hate how it starts kicking out some of the comments, darn it. But anyway, pick it up here as I can. Carl Pence disagrees. Our offensive line is not okay. Agree to disagree. Let's see what they can do when the other team doesn't appear to know what's coming a lot. Let's see, and Minnie points out Harburg is always practiced. Yeah, he's our number 2 quarterback. He's been practicing as that all season long, full time in practice. They have some packages for him and whatnot, but that's his main job is QB2. And they're just going to get, but he's going to run, like I'm saying, they're going to run some reps with the ones this week and until Dylan shows he can go. He says, "Be nice, Minnie." Roberto's just chatting. Oh, that wasn't meant meanly. Just picture Minnie saying that with a smile on her face. I don't think that's Minnie snapping at anyone. I heard that we have an addition to the receiving corps, last name Sacco or something like that. Rumor. Well, Fred, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you have some eligibility left. I know I've got my 4 years. Yeah, there she goes. Laugh out loud. Minnie's always nice. Yeah. Fred tells Aaron, "I'm not a wide receiver, more of a tight end. I've not been to Camp Kenosha." No, Fred is there to just be the Northwestern perverts and never forget. And I'm all for it. Yeah. No, at the press conference yesterday, he did say that he was going to try to practice today. That's all, and that Harburg would be practicing as if he'd be starting to. Let's see where else we got. Caleb Ward goes to our biggest Dylan fan, Minnie, wants to know if he thinks she's starting. She assures us he's fine. I hope you're right, Minnie. I hope you're right, because he was getting it done against UCLA in the second half. Hopefully another thing we can do is figure out how to pick up a blitz before a full half has gone by, because he was just running for his life in that first half. Carl Pence. Dylan has been sacked an unacceptable 20 times in 9 games. Not good. Not good at all. Agreed. Let's see. Many would want Rhule to start even if he was in the hospital. Oh, I just love how that follows you around, Minnie. I'm a big fan of Royals too. Here's a fun little fact. The Georgia backup quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, who, the way Carson Beck's been playing, this might happen sooner rather than later, and I'm not sure I want him thrown in the fire, but he is actually my cousin. He is my aunt's grandson, and he went to the same high school as my mom. It was a small school. He was the Georgia Gatorade Player of the Year, number 2 ranked dual threat quarterback, and he got in the second half of that Florida State game, which I don't think enough people were watching, especially if you picked Florida in the top 10. Because remember, when they didn't make the playoff, and they kind of got screwed out of the playoff, winning a conference and being undefeated, you had guys enter the portal, you had guys opt out of the bowl game, and you basically, and these are all guys that aren't coming back. And that team full of guys that are coming back got beat by Georgia 63-3 with the backups playing the entire second half, and Gunnar got to play most of the second half at quarterback and threw a couple of touchdown passes. But anyway, so we, our family out here in Nebraska kind of cheers for Gunnar since he's family. My uncle married his grandmother after her husband passed away. So, she was widowed, but still my aunt. And I looked it up because I'm like, what is my aunt's grandson? And it's first cousin once removed. So I'm just going with cousin, close enough. I don't want to use more than 1 or 2 syllables trying to talk about relations, but we cheer for Gunnar in Nebraska. And talk about 2 people, my aunt and I texting when Rhule flipped, because then Gunnar went from 4th string behind Brock Vandegrift, who transferred to Kentucky. Then Rhule comes back, and all of a sudden he's back up and in a good position to start for a couple of years. Anyway, thanks for listening to Georgia Talk. It's family. Anyway, let's see what else we got. Fred says, I heard Dylan's rehab consists of cans of LaCroix and motivational tapes that are slam poetry read by Minnie. Minnie, can you come on the show and do some of your slam poetry for us? Although I suspect she's sitting there going, what the hell? Dylan will start, but I'm telling you, he's not playing every snap. Well, here's the thing. If he's not full speed, he's probably not going to start. It might be, one of those emergency situation type things, because we're now to the point where somebody gets hurt So let's say Harburg starts, he gets hurt, but we've got Danny Kalen, who, if needed, can play every other game and the bowl game and still keep his red shirt. So yeah, I mean, he hasn't started every snap because they'll throw Harburg in there occasionally. I don't know that it's going to go to, kind of, hey, he'll play 2/3, Harburg will play a third, just because if he's banged up, I think it's more just, you give Harburg the ball, and then if he goes down, then you decide if he's feeling it or not. Justin says, I think we see a lot of Heinrich, if not for the whole game. Defense needs to contain the quarterback and protect the deep ball. Holgorsen will simplify the playbook with the running game, having rhythm and tempo. See, here's where I don't know if I agree that we're really going to simplify it, because I thought part of the problem was it felt like it was already a little too simplified, but we were just, as Rhule said in the press conference, we were just trying to do too much, trying to give the ball to too many guys, trying to be both a passing team and a running team, and not really knowing what that balance is. That's kind of the way I see it, and I'm probably not explaining it the way I want to, but that was very telling. It's like we need to figure out who our guys are, get the ball to them, and get our best players on the field instead of trying to get so many people in. And I was talking in the year how at least the first 4 or 5 games, and maybe beyond, is you had like 8 or 9 different guys making the catches each game. So that has struck me before. Let's see what we got here. Carl Pence adds another one because they did sack Harburg. Of course, Harburg's sack there, that was like, everybody's going, he did wonderfully in that game. And I was like, yeah, he was 2 of 7 for 32 yards. He made a nice 4th down pass and a nice scramble for a first. But then there were a few other things that weren't great. And one of them was on that 3rd down, just running it out of bounds for a 3-yard loss. He wasn't under a ton of pressure. Could have thrown that one away pretty easily. So I don't really, I know it's like out of bounds goes as a sack. I'm not fighting for any great stat change or whatever, but I'm just saying that's one of those sacks that really didn't appear to be the O-line's fault too much. It was just everyone was covered, and then he opted just to take 3-yard loss instead of throwing it away. Let's see. Andy, please explain 6. Win number 6, all that matters. That's what I was talking about when I wanted to put 6 on a shirt. I want that 6. After that, we can talk about all the wonderful things and all the potential other wins. But since especially the last year's, what are we up to 0-8? 0-8 now in bowl qualifying games or bowl eligibility games. 6, and then worry about nothing else. So I went with a lot of superstition last year, and it's like, I guess I can blame everyone else. I know you people weren't doing the things I told you to do, so it's all your fault. I was burning things and praying to weird gods and just doing all the weirdness I could think of. It didn't work. This is on you people. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Minnie's out going to pick up the daughters. If you're rewatching this, tomorrow or later tonight, I did answer it. I was just moseying my way up the comments. Okay, I'm not reading that one, Fred. How many times a night do I say that? It's like, okay, too much. It is a good, let's just say it is an excellent Archer reference, though. But I know who he's pointing at, so I'm not going to say it. Let's see. Oh, God, 6. Yeah, 6 wins. 6 wins. 6 wins. On NCAA 2006, you could make custom fan signs. Had a friend who's a Penn State fan. I made horseplay is not okay on more signs than invited him over. That is awesome. That is just fantastic stuff. Horseplay is not okay. Jim Norton, the comedian, just did such a scorching bit on Penn State and Sandusky, and he's like, horseplay. It's like, what is this, the 1940s? They're in there wearing fedoras. Yeah, don't worry, kid. It's just a little horseplay there. Yeah, right? Oh, God, yeah. And he was saying, he goes, and when they told you who did it, didn't it just sound right? Who did that to those kids? Sandusky did. Ugh, God, of course he did. If you ever have a chance, listen to Jim Norton's Penn State rant. It's it's fine stuff. Let's see what else we got. No. It's Chasing Six is Greg's new blue chew ad. Yeah, just 6 wins. It's not going to be Chasing Six. I think Chasing 3 has to go away, and bowl eligibility. Still shot free for bowl eligibility. No shots. Like I said, this has the potential to be an amazing health benefit if this goes several more years. Let's see. Roberto, welcome. No, I haven't heard anything about Kalen transferring. I'm sure that everything, the plan, is made clear for him, and I bet the plan is, hey, Dylan's going to be done, and if everything goes according to his timeline, he'll leave for the draft after 3 years, and then Dan redshirts, sits out 2, and then he's got two more years to start potentially. No, I've heard no rumors. I'm sure they will follow him around until he does transfer or get his shot at starting. I think the time to watch his transfer window for me would be if spring ball rolls around after his redshirt sophomore year and somebody else has won that or gotten a lead in that quarterback battle, then I think he transfers somewhere that he can play, or not, maybe, who knows. But that's where I'd look for the transfer window. They did a big study on quarterbacks that transfer, because they're hands down the position that transfer far more than any other, because it is just a different beast. It is one guy at that position being recruited each year, and they said something like 80, I think it's up to like 83% of quarterbacks who are rated 3 to 5 stars or 4 or 5 stars, but if they aren't starting by their junior year, 83% of them transfer. And the why is it's like maybe another Power 5, or do they drop down a little just because they, it's their last days, they want to play, they don't feel they're getting the recognition, that sort of thing. But it's a very high percentage that will, I think it's 3 stars and up, that will leave if they aren't starting by their junior year. Let's see. It's hard to guess how Holgorsen will evaluate which QBs are ready to go. I feel like he's been in this game long enough. He will have a pretty good idea, and he'll get lots of film under him, and he probably trusts this staff that they have a pretty good idea of who ought to be playing in which order, and it's fairly obvious. I think it's in the exact order it should be. I don't really think there's anything to mess with there. Yeah, I agree, Andy. That quizzical trying to do too much, but our O has been like 5 running plays and a bucket of shit screen passes. Exactly. I just and inside the 20, it's worse. I just feel like we're going to be painfully obvious, and we're going to be trying to kick a field goal. Why don't we stretch the safeties with Lloyd and Barney on opposing deep routes? Because he's shown he throws a pretty good deep ball, and I don't know. It's Barney's the one that also. There's another thing they finally did was a couple before the UCLA game. I was saying it's baffling to me how Barney appears to be our possession receiver. He averaged 6.7 yards a catch. I think he's still right around 7. And just like what? And this guy's one of the fastest guys. I mean, I'm not saying don't throw short to him, but why are you trying this guy deep at all? And then they did it. Then he whizzed that. I think it was about a 40-yarder to him, and good. Try that more often, especially against a team that was giving up like 280 something yards a game through the air, and then just stifled us by blitzing all out. I love this reference here by Pitt. The Cheesecake Factory menu is longer than Shatterfield's playbook. I promise this is the last time I'll reference Georgia, but with their offensive coordinator Mike Bobo, it's the same damn thing happening down there that after they got beat by Ole Miss, I was just referring to the both of them as one person, Satterbobo. So yeah, Satterbobo, my God, it's painful enough to watch it once a day. So thank God we had a bye week, because having to watch my number one team and my number two team do the same, just boring, predictable stuff and screen and it hurt. See what else we got, and then we'll get into Dana talk here. But yeah, right now I'm loving it. Let's see what else we have here. Starting to talk here. Yeah, Kenny says, I love the chasing three stuff. I know it's good stuff. It's just when everything starts going in the toilet, though, I don't really want to watch the promotion stuff anymore. I get a little bitter. But hey, Kenny, thanks for the comment. Welcome, bud. Let's see. Beetleby says it is on. Welcome, Beetleby. I like the name. It's on. Hopefully, we can make it dirty with the running game. Just enough of a running game, and we'll talk about the potential for that. I don't know that we're going to 500 plus yards a game right out of the gate, but I think that potential's there. At OSU, Holg's scheme was just to get Blackman into single coverage, and yeah, and when that happened, it was done. Kenny says Kalen is here to stay. Hell, he may play this week, and that's why I'm saying that could happen. Wouldn't if Raiola can't go, it wouldn't surprise me to see him maybe have to get in there, given that Harburg takes a few hits of his own, and if they haven't gotten that out of him from last year, you might see Danny. Brett Clousaw, that's the name I kind of had in mind. Was you'll have Dayton coming in, and we'll see. He's not rated quite as highly as his brother, but God knows he has a live arm. If you want to just talk arm strength, he's got it. And yeah, Kenny says he might have a higher ceiling than Dayton. Yeah, I don't think Dayton's a slam dunk better than Danny Kalen. Remember, Danny Kalen was an elite, it went to the Elite 11 finals and was chosen as one of the final Elite 11. It's actually 12. They pick a number one winner or whatever, and then 11 more, and they call it the Elite 11. I don't know. It's the Elite 12, but there you go. Let's see. Ooh, you know what? Before I start getting dry throat, let's get ahead of ourselves. We'll start with Propel before we take a drink from the more loaded cup over there. My one of many Tanner's cups. So how big are the flames of discontent due to fan delusion? Theo shits the bed this week. Aaron, that's that is a great question. I'm not expecting too much of an overhaul the first week. I just want to see. I don't want to be able to feel like I can call, like I'm calling half the plays before they happen. It's like, oh shit, he wants to throw a screen here. I'm sure that'll be blocked. Boom, 2-yard loss. Oh god. I just want to see, a little more creativity in the play calling set. Fred said that's what I'm looking for. So we might still be in that 20-something points range, but let's hope. What's the title of the show, for crying out loud? It's can Dana Holgorsen ski, or what did I say? Can he tweak us to one more win? And that's what I'm hoping happens now. And if you didn't catch it, I actually am going to break out some of the quotes from the press conference, because he gave a nice long presser and said a few things that didn't make it into the articles that people were trying to get out 2 minutes after he said that he made him his OC. So we'll see. Fred says, I was happy we got Kalen, and I know the spring game isn't best barometer, but he looked like a kid compared to Raiola and HH. Probably needs to bulk up is all. Yeah, he needs, you need to unskinny him a little. And just the thing about that spring game was, and Rhule ended up kind of admitting it later, but I was watching that spring game and I was like, if Raiola doesn't start, then I'm questioning people's intelligence, sanity, anything you want to call it, because he was just so head and shoulders above the rest of them that it wasn't close. I feel like Kalen's a guy, he's still got to develop a little physically, mentally, etc. But I like his potential as well. But I hope, and I'm hoping, when he came here, it's like, kind of understood. If he didn't understand before the spring game, again, I'm pretty sure watching Raiola drop dimes all over the field, he understood after the spring game. And we'll see. That's all we can do is wait and see what he decides. Let's see. Oh, Carl Pence. Andy, if we get the W against USC, I want to see a big red N painted on your bare chest for the rest of the season. I don't think anybody else wants to see that. And like I said, it's just when it's again and again and again, I hope like hell we win. I will hope like crazy. But after a while, it gets ridiculous to just keep going in here. And my best judgment, I think we're going to win. It's like, I'm not Randy Quaid. I was thinking of that because I was rewatching Randy Quaid in Major League 2 in the background. He's like, mild thing, you suck thing, I hate your guts. And he was like the crazy fan in Major League 2. I'm not that. I'm like that for the Huskers, not against the Huskers. But yeah, it's once it keeps happening over and over again, I've just got to go, let's tweak it, and I hope for the best until it's just, to me, it's in the team's hands. You want to change, because they were saying how they hate the here we go again talk. You hate it, win a game, win one of those games. That's the only way it goes away. And now I don't say that in a snappy way to the team. I love the guys. I want the best for them. It's just simple logic. You want that to go away. It's in your hands. Now do something with it. Let's see. Not go into that. Some of the guys were talking all about Rhule's retention, and the retention's been great, and that's because they pay everyone on the roster. I think they everybody up up through the walk-ons and everything, I believe gets 30 grand a year in NIL, and that's if you're being taken care of, they'll tell you. And I'm sure, like anybody else, you'll see guys leave, and there are going to be guys that the coaches sit down every year. I tell people the transfer portal is not all players running away from their teams. It is very much coaches sitting down with guys and saying, you're just not in the plans. You're never going to get, we've got our guys, our top 3 or 4 for the next 3 years, and you're not one of them. So I want to give you the option, and you're not going to be on scholarship. Well, I guess you can't take the scholarships away, but when you're told that you're not in the plans, you may not appreciate the honesty, but you're probably grateful for it if you want to go try and play somewhere else. But no big red in on the bare chest. And all I'm seeing is David Putty right now in Seinfeld. Let's see what else we got here. I'll throw this on Fred. Satterfield could fuck up a playbook that looked like a CVS receipt. Beetlebees, like you just don't know who's going to show up. I love that Pitsnipe said he loves Cheesecake Factory, but I love that crack about the menu. That is one crazy menu. I mean, holy cow! If their idea is to keep you at that table for as long as possible, it does take you, unless you're set in your ways. But if you're going in there for the first time, you're spending 20 minutes trying to make up your mind. Give me an entire series. Kenny says, give me an entire series with Dowdell at fullback and Johnson at the eye. You have just won a Corn Nation Run the Damn Ball t-shirt. We see how that looks. I don't know. I feel like that's getting us in a little more trouble. It's like, unless they've got some wild play action reverse, tight end option pass. Let's see. Yeah, Fred agrees with Beetle. 1 week hot, next week not an early or late game thing. It's a mess. And tell you what, it's not really it's like the 1 week hot. I think was the Ohio State game, but even then, one score loss. Frustrating. I've beaten that into the ground enough. Yeah, Kalen won't play unless Dylan or HH gets hurt. So I think what he was saying there about Kalen getting in the game was better chance than usual, especially if with the assumption that Dylan wouldn't start. If Dylan starts and he's full go, then your chances of seeing Kalen are about nil. If you get an HH in there playing a full game at QB and he gets dinged up, which is not unusual, then I think that's the possibility. Yeah, Kenny won't burn it. Kalen, he can't burn his red shirt now. Because you can play 4 games plus postseason, and he's been in 1. We've got 3 left. If the house caught fire and he was thrust into duty, he could play the rest of the season and come back as a redshirt freshman. I love that. I do. Kenny says the 4-game rule is a great rule change. I agree. I really hated. I love the flexibility to get these guys in here, be able to get those guys in there if they're really needed. I always hated coaches, and Solich did this once with Kurt Dukes, and maybe hate's a strong word. I hated when here a quarterback would go down, you think the guy you're redshirting is second best, and you go up to them and ask them if they're willing to burn their red shirt. It's like, so you put it on them. It's like, you're the coach, either put him in, and then if he wants to refuse, then I guess you deal with it at that point, because he's probably getting ready to transfer anyway. If you promised him that you weren't going to use him in emergency, then try to guilt trip him into it. But yeah, I never liked that. Go ask them. It's like, no, make your decision, and if it should already be made. It should already be made that you've agreed I won't play you, and then if that's the case, now when it happens, trust in your third stringer or your second string guy, and stick by your word. And if it has been understood, hey, if somebody gets hurt, are you willing to play? That's just one of those things I thought, get that taken care of before the season ever starts. Don't be walking up to a kid a freshman kid on the sideline and telling him it's on him. And then, well, I wanted to do it, but he didn't want to burn his red shirt. And then, hey, and you get the whole state crapping on him. And, I don't know how I can't remember how he turned out, but that basically just forced him out the door because he didn't want to go in, and he got out of Nebraska because he didn't like that. Anyway, talked about that. Let's see. Vegas probably has us 100-1 to get the victory the rest of the way. I forgot to copy last week's poll from the 24-hour rule column. I did ask, what do you think the odds are after UCLA of Nebraska making a bowl? And it was about 46 or 7%. Last time I looked, we're going 0-3. And then I think the next highest probability was beating with Wisconsin, maybe beating Wisconsin and beating USC were pretty close. They were in the 20s, and beating Iowa to do it was like 10%. So yeah, it's even after that UCLA, 3 days later, people are probably still a little hot. I wasn't as depressed as most because I was impressed by the second half. We basically did to them what they did to us in the first half, outgained them 251 yards on them in the second half and held them to 110 after they did 246 to 78 or something like that in the first half. So I really did like our recovery there. The biggest problem was 2 drives, 21 and a half minutes of combined possession time. We actually won the time of possession for that game too, after going down UCLA holding 18 of the first 19 or 20 minutes. We actually won the time of possession battle. And hey, suddenly they go beat Iowa, and now that losing to them doesn't look quite as bad, does it? And they really pushed Iowa around too. They were running up their gut. It was fun. Sorry, I don't mean to get so happy just because Iowa lost, but I was. What else we got? I'm going to kind of scoot a little here. Skip a few. Keep the comments coming. I'm going to skip a few just because we're getting in an hour here, or 50 minutes. So, and I know you guys are going to want to talk some Dana. So let's see. I will mark this one as, so I got my place. Let's talk about Dana Holgorsen. I'm going to start just with a few notes. I don't know how deeply you guys have gotten into it. Raise your hand if you know who Hal Mummy is. He is considered one of the fathers of the air raid offense. And Dana Holgorsen started. He was a small college receiver. Started off at St. Ambrose University in Davenport, Iowa, and then transferred to Iowa Wesleyan in Mount Pleasant, where he actually played high school football as well. And he played for Hal Mumme at Iowa Wesleyan. And then as soon as he graduated, Hal Mumme hires him for Iowa Wesleyan. And then Hal Mumme kind of makes his statement at Valdosta State, Georgia. And Holgorsen spent 3 years there with him, along with Mike Leach. And let's see, Mumme. I think I have a few tweets here, and the first one might be because somebody. Yeah, there we go. Hail Varsity got Hal Mumme last Friday to talk about Holgorsen and discuss the air raid. And there were a lot of coaches that learned under this guy and learned air raid under him. And so he goes there and he served as a QB, receiver coach, and special teams coach under Mumme. He goes to Mississippi College for 3 years, goes to Wingate for a year, and then he goes to Texas Tech. And let me pop his little coaching tree up there. He goes to Texas Tech in 2000, and from 2000 to 2004, he's the wide receivers coach there. And let's see, and then he becomes the co-offensive coordinator alongside Sonny Dykes, and the Dykes name is a big name at Texas Tech. And then he was like coaching for Mike Leach again, and so that little coaching tree tends to stick together a little. And we'll talk about what his offenses did. So I'm not gonna read all of that. And then he goes to Houston. He in 5 and 6, and I'll tighten that up in a little bit. He's co-offensive coordinator with Sonny Dykes, and then he's his own offensive coordinator in 2007. Goes to Houston as the OC QB coach 8 and 9. Goes to Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State. I'll go ahead and talk about that a little now. When he was hired there, the offense was previously ranked number 61 nationally in total offense. Now, the 61st best offense. In the first season, the offense led the nation in total offense, averaging 537 yards a game. Number 2 in passing offense, averaging 355 yards a game. And number 3 in scoring average, averaging about 45 points a game. He had, Brandon Whedon was his quarterback, became the first Okie State quarterback to make first team All Big 12. And he was a finalist for the Manning Award. Justin Blackman won the Bolitnikoff Award, and Kendall Hunter their running back, was a finalist for the Doak Walker Award given to the nation's top running back. And Hunter, Blackman, this is a wild stat. Whedon, Hunter, and Blackman became only the second trio in NCAA history to have a quarterback throw for 3,000 yards, a running back run for over 1,500 yards, and a receiver finished with over 1,500 yards receiving in the same season. And Holgorsen was a finalist for the Broyles Award given to the nation's top assistant coach. Love to know who the hell won it that year if that wasn't good enough to to be top assistant in the nation. He then his head coaching career started. He was at West Virginia again. I'm just cheating with this thing. He was at West Virginia from 11 to 18, and Houston from 19 to 23. And the only way to put it, shit got weird at West Virginia. He was hired as the offensive coordinator in 2010, and then he announced that he'd be succeeding Bill Stewart, the head coach, in 2012, saying that he didn't think Stewart was capable of leading the Mountaineers to a national championship. So you hire your offensive coordinator, then you name him head coach in waiting for 2 years. And did that ever work out anywhere? Did a head coach in waiting ever actually become a head coach at that school where he was a head coach in waiting? I have my doubts. And then you announce to the world that you think your current head coach sucks, even though you're going to hang on to him for a couple more years. That's insane. So what happens is that I'm reading out of Wikipedia here. The relationship between Stewart and Holgorsen was strained from the start. No shit, you think? And finally came to a head when Colin Dunlap, a former reporter from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, claimed Stewart had asked him and another reporter from the Charleston Gazette to dig up negative information about Holgorsen's behavior. Holgorsen did apologize for an early morning incident when he was asked to leave a West Virginia casino. One of us, brother. One of us. Huskers Happy Hour. Salute you getting kicked out of a casino in the wee hours. No further negative information than that came forth. And man, if it's the off season and you got a little in you, and hey, don't you know who I am? The help at the casino. Oh God, there's nobody listening to this show that's never had a bad night. But that was it. And said, although Luck, it's like Andrew Luck's dad, I think, Oliver Luck, the AD, was unable to fully substantiate any of the claims about them trying to dig up dirt. He decided that Stewart had become too much of a distraction and forced him to resign, and then named Holgorsen the head coach. So I guess it just answered my own question. Hey, the head coach in waiting became head coach after the head coach tried to dig up dirt on him and got fired for it. So yeah, good start to the head coaching there, and we'll get into his numbers. And then he resigned from Houston to take from West Virginia to take the Houston job, and he was there until 23, where he was fired. And it was for having a losing record his first year in the Big 12 after they went from the AAC to the Big 12. I wouldn't think that's. You think like you'll give a guy with a track record like that more than a year, but that told me maybe there were some tense things in Houston, and that was the kind of deal where they were just, hey, as soon as this guy does one thing wrong, he's out the door. But let's see. Let me talk to you a little bit about. Okay, here he was. His offenses were always pretty good at Houston and West Virginia, except for it only got really bad that last year at Houston. West Virginia, he takes that job in 2011, and they have the 13th and 5th, going by points and then yards per game, 13th ranked offense in points and 15th in yards. So they're top 20 offense. Next year, they're 9th and 10th. 13, they're 81st and 63rd. Kind of a weird one-off year where it's not good. And it was not good because of passing. They still were rushing the ball for about 150 yards a game. And that seemed to be his thing, was that rushing offense always seemed to be in the 140 to 180 range. Popped a couple of times for 230 or so and at West Virginia in 15 and 16. So, but after that year, after 13, where they're 81st and 63rd, then they're 37th in points and 12th in yards. So maybe a little red zone trouble, but they're a top offense again. Then 36th and 22nd. And then that kind of seems to be the thing at West Virginia. 2016, they're 50th in yards and 17th in points. Had that 50th in points and 17th in yards. So they're gaining a lot of yards, but having trouble punching it in. Then the last 2 years, 17 and 18, 22nd and 20th, and then 10th best points scoring offense, 7th best yardage offense. And then he goes to Houston, where, he walks in there, and they're 51st and 78th, but I think they won 12 games that year in 2019, like his first year at Houston. Then they improved 53rd and 56th, and then they're the 15th highest scoring offense in 21, while they're the 59th ground gaining offense, which was a weird one. And then they're 17th and 25th and 22. It's like, he's the head coach, not the offensive coordinator, although, his stamp is on it. And then in 23 is kind of the bottom falls out. They joined the Big Ten. They're 90th in the country in scoring and 86th in yards gained. But where I want to take you is what he's going to be doing for us. And I know it's not a super long stretch, but my God. So in 2005 and 6, he's co-offensive coordinator with Sonny Dykes. And their offense is the 4th highest scoring offense and 6th highest yardage offense in the country. And then the next year, they're 13th and 6th. And they're not running there. They're running true air raid at Texas Tech. So they're only rushing for 60 to 100 yards a game. And then he takes over in 07 by himself. And they are 7th in the country in scoring and 2nd in yardage. And so then he gets he goes to Houston and takes over there. His first year, the rushing yardage goes to 161 yards a game, and after that, it kind of, like I said, stays in that 140 to 180 range, even as a head coach. But with Houston, 2008, 10th in the country in points, second in yardage, and then number 2 in points and number 1 in yardage the next year, and then goes to Oklahoma State where they're, like I said, 61st in the nation in offense before they hire him. And his 1 year there, they rush for 175 yards a game and are third in the country in points and yardage. And that is so as an offensive coordinator, his worst ever scoring offense was 10th. They were 7th, 10th, 2nd, and 3rd, and yardage was 2nd, 1st, and 3rd, and showed an ability to turn it around quick. And you can say, yeah, they had Kendall Hunter and Justin Blackman and Brandon Weeden. Did those guys, any of them, go on to long, successful NFL careers? I'm just asking. I know Weeden got drafted, and he was like 26 or 27 or whatever it was. But that's a hell of a record as an offensive coordinator. And I get it. In Texas Tech, you're walking into Mike Leach's offense, but he leaves Texas Tech and then gets better and adds the running game. And one of Rhule's quotes from that press conference was that he remembered him at West Virginia from when Rhule was at Baylor, and said the one thing he respected was how physical his team played and his offense was. That they did run the ball and they did try to punish you some. So I don't think it's going to be one of the big questions is, oh my God, are they installing air raid? Well, if you look at his team since air raid, yes, the majority of the yardage is passing, but the running game is very much a part of it. It's not 500 yards a game with Pat Mahomes averaging 423 or something like that. It is a little closer to balance, a lot closer to balanced than just pure air raid. And you don't have an air raid recruited team, and like I said, he doesn't appear to have been running it. I'm going to pop up here some of the quotes, which actually seem to answer a lot of the questions people had about it. And then I'll jump into the comments, and we'll get going and see what you guys have to say. He came right out of the gate. Actually, his first thing out of the gate was Dylan Raiola. Well, Dylan will try to practice tomorrow. We'll see where he's at. We'll get both him and Heinrich ready. Just right there's your Dylan update from Monday at lunch. On why Dana Holgorsen will be calling plays and what he can bring to the table. They said, brought him in, had him look at everything, long history of success offensively, both as a head coach and certainly as a coordinator. So he even emphasized that. Before that, he says, I'm looking at what we're doing and who we're doing it with. And he was able to say, hey, let's go in these directions over here. I think it gives us a great opportunity to have one of the great offensive minds, a guy that I've been friends with before and that I trust. I'm excited to see what he does. Here's one thing where they mentioned, how the coaching staff react. And he said, here's what he said about Marcus Satterfield. He goes, Marcus is about as good of a man as I know. He could have said, hey, fire me and give me my money. I'm going home, and that's swallowing some pride to do what Satterfield's doing. He didn't. Trust me, I get it. It's a results business, but you're still trying to teach some life lessons to our guys. He humbled himself and said, what do I need to do? The first day Dana said to me when he watched practice, hey, you've got really good coaches. He says, I'm watching EJ, I'm watching Donnie, Raiola, I'm watching Sad, I'm watching Glenn, I'm watching Garrett, and we can make some jokes here, but he said, I'm watching, he goes, there's great coaches here. We just have to find the thing that our guys do well, and let's just do those things and eliminate all the other stuff. That seems to be a pretty good look at what was going on, does it not? And then Glenn, it's basically Sat's going to go coach the tight ends, and Glenn's going to step down from co-offensive coordinator and just coach the QBs. And really, in today's new rule, the rules have been dropped on the number of coaches. They're just like, hire all you want now. That's gotten thrown out the window. So there's really no need to have somebody doubling up position and a coordinator to save to keep your count under 11 or 12 or whatever. And I'm like, then the advisors and those guys, if you want them on the field working with guys, you can have it. Yeah, why not? Okay, here he is. If he'd consider an air raid offense after the season, and I don't think he's trying to be cute about, we're going to go air raid, but I'm not going to say it now. But he said, right now, I'm just focused on right now. If you watch what Dana did at West Virginia, we're playing Lincoln Riley this week. They have all the air raid principles in them. everyone is going to run, mesh, and cross. The plays that they invented, everyone runs. It's really taken on a much bigger picture than that, if that makes sense. Coach Leach was still doing truly the air raid, and that's true. He did the air raid till the day he died. He goes, if you watch what Coach Holgorsen has done, if you watch what Coach Riley has done, they've built powerful offenses with big people who run the football and run play action. Yeah, they have some of those principles in there, but they adopt other things, et cetera, et cetera. Then they asked what the player response was, and he's like, I just said I haven't had a lot of those conversations yet. Reportedly, Dylan has let it be known he's pretty thrilled about a chance to work with Holgorsen. And boy, if you're a quarterback and one who's been throwing a shit ton of screens, you wouldn't be excited. Let's see, and where play calling fell short in the first half of the season. And I think he nails it here. I said, I think as we've moved throughout the year, we've just tried to get too many things, to get too many things done, to get too many guys involved. We've had too many adjustments. I put that squarely on me as a head coach. Good guy, taking the bullet. I'm not putting that on anyone else. Maybe a fresh look from the outside, one with no context of the history, just kind of watching it. I think that's the biggest thing. We'll see what it does. I don't know that all of a sudden we're going to score 50 points a game, but if we can get 15 more points a game, we can recover a few more downs and third downs. Yeah, if you can get us in the high 30s, I think I'd have to consider that, the huge plus. But anyway, and they brought up Phil Snow. Phil Snow was also hired as a consultant. That was his defensive coordinator at Baylor and with the Carolina Panthers. And he says he's just one of those guys. He's watching tape. He's watching some guys we want him to watch. And said he's just that's what he's doing. He is just in here truly being a consultant, just helping out in any way he can. Yeah, I mean, the defense doesn't probably need too much tweaking, but I just love the ideas in this day and age of having another set of eyes on things. Just, hey, here's one thing I'm seeing. Are you seeing it too? That can help a great deal if everybody understands their role. And that was probably just a lot of good stuff on what Seth's going to do. It's not going to be the air raid. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. There's probably some good plays in the playbook we have. I just don't know that we saw them. That's mean, but whatever. Okay, there's your get to know Coach Holgorsen a bit. I think we're all in agreement that we need visor Holgorsen. We need that offensive coordinator with the visor, with the balding, with the blonde mullet. I want that. I know we're not going to get it, but I always love that Holgorsen look, just kind of that wild man on the sideline look. Here's a couple other tweets we saw about it. Rhule on switching to him. I tried to fix it. I hadn't been able to fix it, so I called someone in that I knew could fix it. I think Dana will fix it. You look at the track record, and granted, we haven't some of our hires that looked great at the time. Not going to mention any names. Didn't end up that way. This one I feel has to go our way. If Holgorsen comes in here and we're still scoring like 19 points a game, maybe it's time to bring in the witch doctors. And here's a nice little shot of quarterbacks he coached at other schools: Geno Smith, Case Keenum, Will Grier, Graham Harrell, and Brandon Whedon. That's a pretty nice little pile of quarterbacks there. I won't go through all their stats. I'm sure most everybody knows their names. Kind of like Geno Smith, after just kind of being a career backup, he's turned himself into one of the better quarterbacks. If you're a fantasy manager, Geno Smith's turned into kind of your trust guy. He was like the number 5 or 6 fantasy quarterback last year. He throws it a bunch, scrambles a little. Geno Smith has like firmly planted himself as a starter, and hey, that was a Holgorsen guy. All righty, let's go to the comments. Aaron Kane. That's looks like some of these get cut off. Doggone it. Where's my starred comment? Oh, go live. All right, let's see what we got here. Sunny Fred. Sonny Dykes was Frost's favorite dancer at Bottoms Up. And we're off. So yeah, here Sonny Dykes is a nude beach near San Francisco. Yeah, I'm not going to take a position of like, oh, cheap shots at Sonny Dykes because we had a lot of fun with those names when you had Spike and Sonny, and just felt like there was always a Dykes coaching at Texas Tech for about 30 or 40 years. Yeah, let's see. Holgorsen has moved it on to the hair raid offense. You see that dude's mullet? We love the mullet. Aaron Kane, I bet when Rhule hired Holgorsen that Satterfield ran out of the stadium screaming air raid and fell into a puddle of water. Oh, God. And Aaron says he probably called a screen to himself, and yes, then he fell down. Yeah, no, no one blocked for him. I think we should own it and play the air raid sirens when Holgie runs on the field. Oh, brother. The thing is, though, you'd give too many old white Nebraska men heart attacks. Air raid, run the damn ball. Let's see here. More of Satterfield falling down. Hold on. Pit Snipes Husker is starting one off with serious questions. So let's slow the roll for a minute here. Serious question. DH is OC until he gets a head coach offer that he likes. Could be. One of the other things that Matt Rhule was asked, like, what's your plans for Holgorsen beyond 2024? And he said he very much would like for him to return as an offensive coordinator. Here's the thing, though. He's done his stint as head coach. It didn't go great. And you look at his offensive numbers as head coach and offensive coordinator, and you wonder, because he's got $15 million dropped on him from Houston. And people have weird tastes. I think of $15 million, and I couldn't spend it if I got it all at 20 years old. I'd never work another day in my life. Well, I'd do this. But yeah, Holgorsen, maybe he's one of those guys. You got Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator at Ohio State, where he's playing for a guy who he coached when he was younger, Ryan Day. And maybe he's just realized I'm happiest just as an offensive coordinator. Maybe that happens with Holgorsen. Dude, you don't have to. There's so much more bullshit into being a head coach now is maybe, hey, I just want to sit there, help with recruiting where I can, but I just want to work and be an offensive coordinator. And he goes, that's my wheelhouse. Let's bring Nebraska back. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, who knows if he wants to be a head coach again? Because Matt Rhule really does sell the hell out of Lincoln, Nebraska, to people, and the thing is, he's right. If you're watching a game start on ABC, the first thing you see is this like broken down barn or a rusty windmill out in a field like 5 miles outside of Lincoln, and it just gives the impression that it's just a bunch of buildings up in the middle of a field somewhere. And then they get in there, and it's like, no, it's a pretty peppy place. It's got a nightlife, and plenty of places to eat, plenty of entertainment, and really is a good looking city. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like all the people who might be transferring, we'll see. But let's see what happens. If I get myself into one of the down there, if they are hitting him up for a press conference, maybe I'll see if I can sneak a question like that in. I know I won't get an answer, but just see if I can tell anything from the facial expressions or whatever. It's, hey, is this something you'd like to do for a while? And what are your goals after this season? And I know I'm just going to get that just worrying about right now, but it might be a good question to ask. I'm sure someone will ask it. Let's see. You and I's coach is retiring. There's Fred Sacco. I don't think he wants the head coach gig anymore. Yeah, when you see guys who, as head coaches, weren't the burning successes they were as coordinators, they might look, especially not needing money after, being removed from those head coaching positions. Maybe they just want to go back and do what they loved, which was drawing plays on napkins, like my old high school coach Ron did. Let's see. Yeah, no, Northern Iowa, their guy threw an NIL fit and quit. And I guess I can see with him because he'd been there for 20 years. So here's the rare coach that actually stayed in one place for a long time that wasn't like his Power 5 destination of choice. But yeah, that's not all coaches. So I really have a hard time keeping a straight face when it's, the NIL and transfer. And I'm just like, Yeah, we know it was so much easier when they were poor and needed your permission to transfer. It really did make a head coach's job easier. But anyway, not to go on a rant there. Let's see. So another Camp Kenosha correct from Fred. Uh, our defense only stops on the goal line. They really did some. They really did some bend but don't break in the first half to keep UCLA to 13 points because they gave up 246 yards. And if you tell me we gave up 246 yards and they only got 13 points, then let's see what we can do in the second half because we shouldn't still be in this game. You should probably from 240 yards come away with 20 something points at least, but we will see. Oh god. But no, if you look at it, they don't have like the skewed numbers of. I mean, it's a little bit that way, but they don't have the thing where hey, they're 50th in yards given up, but only 17th in points given up. They're 16 and 22, so they bend but don't break, but it's not all the time like that. After those first three drives of UCLA's, they forced punts on 5 of the next 6. So I won't disagree with Beetle B. It's not all the time, but there is something to that. It's not that bad, Aaron. Let's see what we got here. Andy's only half the reason I come to this bar. Let's see. Aaron Kane, he ain't doing it. If we've worn him down. No, I'm still doing it. By God, we will get through these. Let's see what we got. Choo choo choo. We're getting the TV references here. Hey, Pitt, I'm not a prospect on Sons of Anarchy from Fred. Let's see. Then they're talking about Blossom. Not going into the Blossom talk, fellas. Holy Christ. Let's see. Hey, I'm almost to the bottom of them here. Let's see. Yeah, Bo Pelini's second stint at LSU DC didn't work out so well. Yeah, it was okay. The one year the year that got him was they won the national championship, and then COVID happens, and that you had games where like all but 2 of their starters had COVID, and that were just missing massive games. And you also, and this was one of the things that cracked me up when I read it, was once he won that national championship, Ed Orgeron basically retired. They said he was showing up, he was missing practices or chunks of practices, and he was showing up to him with like his latest girl. He filed for divorce about 2 months after they won the title because he knew what he wanted to do, and apparently it wasn't sit at home with his loving wife, and he just started showing up with women to the practices, I guess. And so that snowball, like I think he fired all the coordinators, and the next year they fired him. And they had this interview with him that is just one of the funniest interviews. Well, everything with him to me was pretty hilarious. But he was sitting there describing how the firing went, and they brought him in the office, and I think the way he did it, I can't do the gravel well enough, but he was like, "Well, they brought me in there, and AD said, it ain't Coach O ain't working out so well anymore." And I was like, "Yeah, don't take Ray Charles to see that, buddy." He goes, "So here's what we're going to do. You got like $18 million left on your contract, and we're going to give you all of it." And I just said, "Well, in that case, I just need to know 2 things. Where's that money, and which door do I walk out of? And thank you for." It was just, and that was the thing. It's like he basically was done putting any time into it, and that was he. And who's the dude who was the Texas assistant who won Auburn's national championship with Cam Newton and was out the door, I think, like after 2 more years because with Cam left right away, and then they were having losing records, and he got fired like 1 or 2 years later. And then Ed does the same thing, very different reasons. The one dude just wasn't that great a coach; he just happened to stumble into Cam Newton, but Ed was just like, I got better shit to do now. I won that LSU title, and I think it was just a case that Ed was like, ain't getting it. It is not getting any better than this peace out. And then they gave him all his money to boot, and he might spend it. Ed Orgeron might have the kind of needs and tastes where he'll spend that money and maybe need another job at some point. But yeah, the Bo Pelini stint, I don't put that so much on Bo as on a team with a head coach who's already 1 foot out the door by his own choice, and COVID and all that stuff. But apparently a couple of buyouts, Bo made enough money and had enough fun, because Bo hadn't coached since. And I enjoy watching him interview. One of my favorite Bo interviews was when he was on Bustin' with the Boys a couple of years ago, and really opened up about a lot of stuff. And you could tell this is a guy now that's just not, living like 5 or 6 more years till his first heart attack. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, the peso is kindergarten against modern offenses. That was Carl Pelini, and it worked pretty damn well when it did. I really enjoyed Carl Pelini as a defensive coordinator, and I thought that went into the shitter when Papuchis came along and went from like grad assistant to Power 5 position coach. Just made the jump from grad assistant to Power 5 position coach, and then like 2 years later to defensive coordinator. And he seems like a nice guy. I won't bag on John any longer, but that wasn't great for me. Yeah, Blake Lawrence said Bo's defense was great, but every guy had to play perfect on every play. One breakdown at one spot, and it goes for 6. I think there's some truth to that. What I saw happening is I don't think it was so much that there's one breakdown, it goes to shit. It's why the breakdown happens. And Bo basically admitted this on that Bustin' interview. Is I told people, and the time it really hit home for me, and I started watching, and there was the same thing happening every time the defense would kind of go to shit when Bo was head coach. Is God, how to put this? Okay, we're actually up in that Wisconsin game, the Melvin Gordon 420 or 17-yard game. We're up 17-7 after the first quarter, and everybody is just playing out of their minds and on fire, and the defense is knocking some heads. And then I think it was Daniel Davey just missed the assignment, and there goes Gordon for his 65 yards. So like Blake Lawrence said, maybe some truth to that. But what happened after that was they're going back to the sideline repeatedly, because it's like 4 or 5 plays later, and Bo is just still over there chewing Daniel's ass, like just going crazy. And the announcers are like, oh my God. And he would do that. And then what happens is the defense goes back out there, and they are tight as a drum. And the thing is, your assignments, if you've learned your assignments, you're not even thinking about them. You're just doing them. You're doing them at high speed. It's second nature. But when you jump a guy's shit so hard for a mistake, what you do is you send the message to the other guys is this could be you if you fuck up. And all of a sudden they're thinking about their assignments. They're not just playing and letting it take care of itself, letting the muscle memory of practice and running through it again and again. They're not letting that take care of itself anymore. They are tight, and they're playing not to fuck up. And I think we all saw a great example in that game of what happens if you go tight, because it was like a switch flipped like that. Then he's off to the races, and everybody is probably missing assignments because they're thinking about them for a second or two before they're running to them. And by that time, you're dead. And he basically said, he admitted, like, getting mad at players was a huge mistake on his part, looking back. And I was like, that's wild, because I think I just had the right idea for once. But I started watching for it after that. And you could see when the defense started screwing up so many times, it was just kicked off by Bo blowing up on a guy who made a mistake and not letting it go. Go ahead and blow up a little, but build him back up when you're done, man. It's like, okay, you fucked that one up, but you're a good player. You're going right back out there, and you're not going to do it again, right? I believe in you. Get back out there. It's not the military. Football's not life or death. Don't make guys play like they're afraid to make mistakes. A team that's not afraid to make mistakes will make mistakes, will fix them, and will just learn, go all out, do what you should. If you make a mistake, make it at 100 miles an hour, fix it, get back out there. All right, there you go. Sorry. Old coach talking. Let's see. Yeah, Fred Orgeron was great. Ed was just anytime he was being interviewed. I would Monday night be pick my kids up at my parents' house and we'd all have dinner and I'd head there after work and we'd watch a movie or something before I took the kids home. And I remember screaming home from work because they just announced when Ed got the officially got the LSU head job, and it was another just one of the he's talking about how he was driving his car. I'm just playing the radio and yelling out the window, and I'm like, I believe every word of that. I think you are just going absolutely bananas because LSU, that's a character, an amazing character, getting his dream job, and the interview didn't disappoint. I won't do another like half-assed Ed Orgeron impression. Just you can trust me on that one. Let's see. Orgeron, the farmer Fran, 100%. Blaine Coles does soon talk about Ed throwing money away like the government. Hey, okay, Mike Riley had a chance to hire Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron was publicly begging to come to Nebraska. I think that's when he didn't get the USC head job after taking over as interim coach there and finishing like 5-0, and then they didn't want him. I just think he was probably too weird for Southern California. Or I don't know. I've been there. That just seems like a wonderfully fun, weird area. Maybe it would have worked, but I didn't understand that. But he hadn't been a head coach yet. They wanted somebody who'd been a head coach previously. Here we got RS from watching from Cebu in the Philippines. Holy God, the Triple H brothers, the Triple H has gone international. So we get another Triple H there. We got Japan and the Philippines going. Holy cow! This is exciting. Welcome to the Triple H, guys. I love it every minute of it. Let's see. Back to the comments. Let's see. It's not. Okay, I'm going to try and move us on from Bo a little bit. See if anybody's talking about Dana here. Oh God, I watched Youngstown State playoff game when Bo and Carl were there. Bad call. They got on a ref. Looked like the Sopranos going after the ref during Meadows soccer game. I don't think I'll ever see anything like that Texas A&M game where we got screwed over by the that was like the final screwing over by the Greg Burks crew. And man, they were following those guys off the field and letting them have it. And is that the one maybe Carl grabbed some paparazzi or some photographer tried to zone in super close for a pick, and he might have chucked his camera. But I remember that was like he coached there 3 years, and one of those years he did take them to the 1AA, or I guess what do you call it, FCS championship game. Let's see what else we got. Riley and Orgeron would have been, oh God, the odd couple. Yeah. Can you see Riley? I mean, like I made fun of Riley once because he got pushed around by Sean Eichhorst, who was known as the Invisible Man at Miami, and was basically hiding under his desk whenever Bo came by. And I was like, you do not have the personality to be a head coach at any level if you can let yourself be pushed around by Sean Eichhorst into hiring Bob Diaco, which I guess is how that went down. And that would have been watching Riley and Ed. Ed would have done 90% of the talking, right. He'd just roll right over Riley. That would have been something. I remember thinking back then, I'd love to what was it? I would have just loved to have had Ed as the Nebraska coach. I think people would have loved him. Granted, he wasn't walking in here. Maybe we get Joe Burrow back for all the weeks should have had Joe Burrow, but he wasn't going to have like Chase and Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and all that, and 5,500 yards passing. But you got to remember, Ed came in that first year and they were kind of they got Burrow, or at least I'm forgetting how many years exactly he was there, but I remember when they get Burrow, they just are like glaringly average on offense that year, and then they brought in Joe Brady and things blew up. And got to give Ed credit for that hire, as far as I know. And hey, maybe if Joe Burrow comes here and Ed Orgeron comes here and he brings Joe Brady to Nebraska and we're already celebrating titles, baby. Oh, God. Yeah. Anyway, I did tweet something out this week. One guy tried to tell me I stole it from some like Lincoln radio station or something. I got it from somebody commenting in an article, but they threw out there, and I threw it out there just for fun. And we got some good comments on the Corn Nation X/Twitter. And I just said, hey, Scott Frost, let's say when Scott Frost rolls in 2018, the transfer rules are what they are now, just open transfer. And he comes rolling into Central Florida with 13, 14 of their best players. And remember, they were a top 10 team, beat Auburn, who had beaten number 4 Clemson, number 2 Alabama, and number 1 Georgia in the regular season. And then CFU or UCF upsets them in the Peach Bowl. You know, hey, maybe Mackenzie Milton comes in. And the next year, it was the last game of the following season, 19, where he got his knee destroyed and was out for, 2 years. And, hey, you come to Nebraska, Mackenzie Milton, he plays plays 2 years. Adrian, maybe, you still get Adrian. Adrian steps in after that with a little time to learn it and not just have it all on his shoulders as a freshman. And just stuff like that. And it was fun. Yeah, one guy goes, I know you stole that. Try to do something original. And the very first sentence of the tweet, it was literally, hey, credit to a reader for bringing this up in the comments of my column. And so I said, hey, why don't you go back and read the entire tweet again? I credited the person who did it. I don't know if he stole it from your Lincoln radio show. It's probably not the first person that thought that. And then I was a bit of a dick and put in there hashtag reading skills. But yeah, anyway, what do you think of that? Is the Frost trajectory different if we're, all of a sudden more loaded the skill positions, that sort of thing? Got 13 starters off an undefeated team. And I get that the regular season, the schedule wasn't great. It wasn't like a Big Ten or a SEC schedule. But they still had teams like flirting with the rankings. I remember Memphis State and South Florida were both really good that year and gave them some battles. But yeah, what happens there? Are we remembering Scott Frost in a different way if he's coming in with some help and not a bunch of guys who, how to put it, were playing on a team where working out was sort of optional, according to some players, and it really showed on the field. So, food for thought. Okay, here you go. There's a documentary out there about the descent of Youngstown, and Ed O'Neill is interviewed for over half of it. Nice. It is great, and it gives you an insight into Bo and Carl indirectly. Gotcha. Yeah, because who was it? Tressel went back there after his troubles at Ohio State, which almost seem like nothing now. But Tressel is one of those guys that, looked like the guy you wanted your buddy or your son to take a class from, and he just looked the part of the gentleman, and he was just constantly being getting in trouble with the NCAA. Not a great guy, because remember in basketball, if you go back to like the 80s, 90s, you had Jerry Tarkanian at UNLV, and they're, oh my God, all the rules he's breaking to bring in these guys. And Raleigh Massimino, who won a national title at Villanova in '85, I believe it was, when the Big East got Georgetown, St. John's, and Villanova into the Final Four. And the team shoots 85% or something like 75-80% from the field to upset Georgetown in the final. And he's just, this wonderful, he just looks like everybody's like funny grandfather. And he got in just as much trouble with the NCAA as Jerry Tarkanian. So sometimes just the way you look, it can help. But that's what I remember about Jim Tressel, is always in trouble with the NCAA, Ohio State. He was getting in trouble at Youngstown his first time around, even before he got to Ohio State. But just looked the part of a professor, so nobody gave it a second thought. Let's see, what do we got here? From John Jacobs. Welcome, John Jacobs. Holgorsen's offense better be completely and totally unrecognizable from Satterfield's offense. After every play, I should be able to say to myself, I have never seen that play this year. I don't think you can just – next year, absolutely. I would look for a very different offense next year if he stays on. And I would hope that he didn't just move up here for a quick 2-month paycheck. I'm hoping this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. But I'm not. You might see some plays you've never seen before from the Satterfield playbook, or seen them once. Like, there was some good stuff in there. The play that sticks with me, and also a reason that Marcus is just coaching tight ends now, is probably because there's so few plays where I went, what a beautiful play. But it was that kind of flow left play where they did like the little pitch to Bonner going against the flow and running in, maybe behind Barney blocking, but ran in for a touchdown against Illinois. That was a really nice play. Don't say that about a lot of them, though. And I think there's that issue. But yeah, I think we're going to still see Satterfield plays. He might sneak in one or two, but I just don't know that there's time to just, hey, and here's your new playbook. Because then you might see some really goofy things happen. But hey, give him a whole spring. If he's back, give him a whole spring, and here we go. Let's see. Yeah, Brasco Rascal. I love you. This is one I was always throwing around there. Ice cream with sprinkles for everybody was the Riley thing. Somebody might have mentioned out there. I am kind of sliding through a little, but yeah, oh, so-and-so got a touchdown. That's sprinkles in the training table afterwards, not just the plain old vanilla. Oh, better sneak a couple sips here. Yeah, we still got a few minutes here. Yeah, jump in with what you expect from Holgorsen. What you expect to see. I know what Rhule said. Do you think that's right? Do you think we're gonna sprinkle in this, that, anything specific? Let's hear it. Orgeron, Sacco. My God, Orgeron would have taken that ice cream and used it on his concubines. Oh God, yeah. I mean, yeah. Ed just wanted to. Yeah, I'm just going to put it straight up. Ed Orgeron won that national title, said that is the pinnacle, and I'm going to translate that as into as much fucking as I can possibly do until I'm done. And I'm betting he's still out there. He's probably still hitting. He's not ashamed at all to go running around with his shirt on. And I saw 2 or 3 him on the beach with like 2 or 3 different women. He's got a type, and just Ed around there storming around with his shirt off and just living life. If your goal is to just live your best life, usually people see the happiest dogs on earth. Look at Mr. Waffles over there living his best life. Well, Ed is Mr. Waffles and he's living it. I still don't think Frost UCF people would have translated well to B1G play. I would say, I don't know. It seems to be working with the James Madison crew that I think went 10-2 against kind of the same schedule. I would think that UCF team was probably better than that Madison crew, but I don't know. It, like I said, food for thought. Yeah. Oh, wait. I think I saw. Sometimes it just jumps on me here. Yeah, Trussell had his low-level version of LP at Youngstown, didn't he? Was that it? Okay. Among other bad dudes, and they got cars and shit. Yeah, yeah, Trussell only looked like a sweet, nice guy. Let's see. Yeah, hats off to Tressell's problem child. He runs community sports programs now, I think. I wonder, is that, who's the Claret? Are we talking on this case, not Youngstown, are we talking about Maurice Claret? Because was it him and then Marcus Dupree? I don't know if I'd ever seen 2 guys come in, kill their freshman year so hard, and then just be done. Just couldn't handle it. I don't know. Yeah, the Marcus Dupree 30 for 30 is one of the better ones I saw, where here was Marcus Dupree and Switzer was just like ready to be done with him because just tanked it in practice, didn't really want to work out, but then just, it's just one of those things as a coach. But this guy wins ball games, and that's my job's not really based on, sitting the best guys with bad attitudes. Like, if they can get it done on the field, ride them as long as you can. But yeah, it was like, I think they were in the Fiesta Bowl, and he did something like run like 15 or 16 times for over 300 yards, but he could only run it that many times because he was so gassed, like he was so out of shape that he needed to rest for like 10 or 15 minutes after each one of those runs, so they couldn't even get him 20 carries. They said no, it wasn't because we're running up the score and saying this was happening in the first quarter. He was just tired all the time. Oh God. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. Was Signetti and the James and the Dukes seem to be adjusting very well. Let's see. Yeah, Fred, if the plays work, we'll know they're new. Fred's just like, screw it. We're still gonna fuck it up if Frost because it's Frost. Oh, brother. Hopefully they focus on getting the ball out of Dylan's hand quick to slow down the rush. Pass catching backs will work well. Well, he throws that short stuff well. He gets it to him. It's just, I feel like they were putting in just too many touch passes. Let him rip it occasionally. He's got an NFL arm on his shoulders. Use it. I don't know why we weren't using it. Let's see. Oh, Aaron said good night. Good night, Aaron. About 5 minutes ago. Let's see. Fred says I expect. If I can get it up, I expect an offense with more cohesiveness at the very, very least, something that makes sense. That's all I am looking for. Not, your offensive play calling choices are not great when you're literally being booed for it. It's not what. At least that's how I was taking it and judging with that. I guess that's a good thing. One good thing about social media is if there's booing in a game, you're going to hear on Twitter and TikTok why they were booing. And I didn't hear any of it going, I think our guys are screwing up. There's some of that, but the overwhelming majority was the play calling stinks. Shit sucks. And Matt Rhule apparently saw the same thing. Shout out to Matt Rhule, because how many coaches have we watched just about go down with the ship because they don't want to fire their pal? Kevin Cosgrove was the worst of those. I tell people Bill Callahan might have still been here for 10 or 20 years because the offense was starting to cook under him. It was getting to where it was a top 20 or 25 offense, but the defense was just becoming a sieve, and it was like they were getting smaller and weren't playing with any kind of confidence. And no, I'm not firing the guy. Well, it's going to cost you your job. Because if there's one thing I don't hate Bill Callahan, and if there's one reason, if there were two guys I did freaking hate, can't stand, college football style, whatever the hell you want to call it, Ron Prince and by extension Josh Freeman. I had my fill of those two, and Bill Callahan shoved Nebraska's foot up their ass every game. We beat the piss out of Josh Freeman, and for the going away party, I think we strapped 70 on him, and we're beating up Freeman again, where he's doing sissy Josh Freeman things and pouting and whining. And I just remember we got the ball back, and as the last fuck you to Ron Prince, we get it back, and I think we're on like somewhere around midfield, between the 40s somewhere, and we have like a 4th and 20 something, like a 4th and 21 or something, and Joe Gans drops back and runs that damn ball. We go for it, up like 70-28 or whatever it was, 72, 73, and Joe Gans goes for it on 4th and 20 something and runs it for a first down, and then we take knees. It's just, and I mean, if that wasn't the best kiss my ass. And then we did the same thing to Blaine Gabbert too. But I think that was Bo, at least for a couple of those. But yeah, we knocked Blaine Gabbert around a lot too. So that was fun. So yeah, the rule is if you're an Elite 11 and commit to Nebraska, you hang on to that commitment, brother. Yeah, that was Bo, because I remember I think that was Carl's boys, like Sue and Eric Haig, the last cup, or at least the second to last year. And then the last year we had Taylor Martinez in there, and then Roy Haley had the 310-yard game, and they had their sideline going nuts because one of the Osborne brothers just came flying in, like leaping through the air, and just landed on Gabbert and wiped him out as he threw it, and they were wanting late hit or something. They might have gotten it. Who knows? But yeah, I'll always love giving the boot in the ass to our decommits. I don't know. Just Ron Prince was such an obnoxious ass. Yeah, I can never hate Bill Callahan because at least we didn't have to put up with the whoopings from him. Yeah, good for Orgeron. He capitalized on that title. If you look like that and work at AutoZone, you're not getting that that action. Nope. Well, I remember somebody saying about Rob Gronkowski that brother, it's a good thing that guy is good at football. Otherwise, he was going to have some job moving a pile of concrete blocks from one pile to a new pile 30 feet over by lunch and then moving it back for dinner before he carted out for the evening. Pit Snipe says, my uncle and I used to fantasize about living our best lives in Cebu, actually. Yeah, I love having this international flavor tonight. This is awesome. Yeah, the 30 for 30. Fred, you're right. That 30 for 30 on Dupree was really watchable. It was sad. It was interesting. It was funny. It was a good one. Let's see what we got here. Corby Koba says he's looking for situational football plays, not passing a screen dump on 3rd and 25 as a start. He avoids that, and most fans will be chill. And Corby, you are not wrong, because there's nothing to me says white flag like the screen pass on 3rd and 10 plus. Hey, good news from the UCLA game. We were over 50% on 3rd down in that game. I think we were like 9 for 17 or something like that, and we were like slightly better than UCLA. We really should have won that game. We played well enough in the second half to win that game, and our offense failed us when we had 2 long drives and on downs and get nothing. Geez. We asked and I've heard this too. We asked too much from our coaches. We need to ask more from the kids. Well, if we're being honest about what the coaches say about what the work the kids put in, they're giving their all. And even in Indiana, and you didn't really hear this, is Rhule said they kept going. They got their asses whipped, but said they kept going. They didn't quit. And I was looking on socials, and I didn't really see any comments like, "Oh, we laid down for them." So, at least in that game, it's easy at 56-7 to go, "Fuck this," and coaches and fans seem to think, "Hey, if this is probably the only bright spot you can hope to find from that debacle," but didn't quit. So. But you can always add. It's like I feel I disagree a little bit. BLB, love the comment. Don't get me wrong. I feel like the coaches are the ones you should ask too much of, and I feel like they should be getting the kids self-motivated. And I don't know. We'll see. These last 3 games will tell us a ton. That I will say. We will learn a lot about this group, and maybe beyond the results. But we'll see. Let's see. I think that KSU game was the one where Osborne sent a note to Billy C. and said, "Dial it back," and Billy C. said, "Crusty old fucking," threw the note away. That wouldn't surprise me. I could see Osborne wanting to do the right thing. Blah, 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 blah. And we did have the starter. We still had Gans in there. But you know what? At that point, and I get it that I think at that point, was he the interim athletic director at that point, or I believe he was. So it is your boss, but hey, boss, that's not your call anymore. You can express your opinion to your coach afterwards, and then decide. And I think he did decide to move on from him pretty quick. But you don't send that shit down during a game. Come on, Tom, do better. Tom, and hey, stay out of our drinking and porn too while you're at it. Let's see, just add to it. Heinrich's interception against UCLA, I wasn't even mad. Not one bit. Had the balls to throw it down the field. He went in there and played with zero fear. And he did. But it wasn't great. And that was like, underthrown a little bit into double coverage. and I didn't feel like we got to heave one at the end zone. If we do have to, not that I'm against that, but it wasn't Hail Mary time and whipping it. I didn't like him whipping it down in there in the double coverage. Doesn't make Heinrich a horrible person. Just disagreed with the decision. Because at first I thought, until I got a chance to watch the replay, I thought, Jesus, another cheap shot not called because our receiver got decked. And then when I watched him, he came in just going 100% at the ball, and he was making a play on the ball, and I think it was a Barney, just happened to flatten Barney. No, no fair no call there. I also didn't like him running. I said I didn't like him running out of bounds for the 3-yard loss. Plenty of time to throw it. I didn't like it. The thing I really didn't like is here we are, either about to be out of timeouts or running out, or we've run out of timeouts, and he does that little like 5-yard dump to Fedone without enough room to get out of bounds. And that, brother, throw that one out. If you can't get that to him past the chains, and there wasn't a path to the chains there, and there wasn't a path out of bounds, you just got to dump that one and live to fight another day, because that did more damage than an incompletion. Now that being said, very, very nice connection on that 4th down, and very nice scramble for a 1st down. Callahan knew he was done, but thought maybe scoring 70 would help us get a wild card game. Yeah, maybe. Peterson was AD for Cal, but I thought we fired Peterson mid-season, and Osborne stepped in as interim and then took over for a couple of years till we brought in the Invisible Man. So if that was Callahan's last year, I think I'd have to look, but I think it was Osborne by then. Let's see. Tom sent that note from the club seats, right? I'm just picturing all of a sudden I'm picturing Kevin Costner in For the Love of the Game, where he's like sending the baseball up to the owner, for the love of the game, this is my last game, or I'm retiring. Pitt, he was three or four at the time, but they whacked Petey, and Osborne was named AD about halfway through the Callahan season. Yeah, when the AD gets whacked, when you're the head coach and your AD gets the guillotine, you might as well get that house on the market and get ahead of things. Trusack, honestly, don't remember that particular game that fell in the. And I'm drunken on drugs. You can't trust me. Well, see, that's what we're looking for in our viewers and listeners or whatever it is. Yeah, we don't want clear heads here all the time. Sacco, we did. Petey was fired after Okie State when they killed us. Yeah, yes, and I believe I already shared my story of that game, drinking the mini keg at Tanner's with a buddy, and like not having to. I mean, like done like halfway through the 4th quarter. It was just that kind of game. That is our comments. So I need somebody. It's time for a recommendation. Another item off the list of the 40 things that every great drunk should do before he dies. I need somebody to pick a number. First one in 2 to 4, between 2 and 40, including 2 and 40. So anything 2 to 40, get it in the comments, and I'm going to dig it out, and we'll see what y'all should be accomplishing with your lives. Anybody. Oh wait, which reminds me, the Drunken on Drugs Happy Fun Time Hour. Watch it. Y'all get stoned first. Why not? Number 5, Fred Sacco. We'll do 2. And Mustang, and then my son dipping in here at the end, Mustang 6197. See, I do allow for, a little bit of, family love here. So Fred Sacco. Number 5, what's that? All right, number 5. Scooch down here. Number 5 is this I haven't done. I counted it up once. I think I'd done about 25 or 26 of these things. Number 5 is spend a night in the drunk tank. While getting captured by the man goes against the most primal of drunkard instincts, if you're putting your time and liquor in, it's going to happen. Make the most of the experience. Pretend you're Cool Hand Luke, and don't refrain from telling your friends, among drunks, the real ones anyway, a night in the tank is a very large feather in the drinking cap. So, drunk tank. And Mustang 6197. We're going to get Drew on here one of these times. You guys will enjoy the little shit. Let's see. Hey, at least I'm not John, who just refers to his son as my rotten son all the time. Let's go to 27. We'll go ahead and do a couple of them because we've got enough info for weeks, and there's more stuff in here I can find. But last one of the show, number 27. This is actually one of my favorites. Get loaded and tell your boss exactly how you feel. It could go down at the company picnic, the Christmas party, or maybe if you're really going after accomplishment 24, which is juice on the job. I'm sure we'll run into that. Right at the office. It's tremendously cathartic. Years of stress and bitterness will drop from your shoulders, and for the first time after you're done unloading, you will see your employer as an actual human being. You may very well get fired, but hey, if you're angry enough to go berserk on your boss, you need to get a new job anyway. Good choice. So that should do it for us tonight. Let's see. Sorry, save the numbers for next week. Pitt's night. It's probably a little too into the too much of the drug side of drunken on drugs, because we don't have a 3.14. So my boy waves high. Boom, done. I've done that. It was odd. I never did the drunk tank. I guess I'm trying to think. I guess technically I unloaded on my boss because I did work for my parents for a few years. We had a bookstore in the old market, Ketterson's Old Market bookstore, really hard to find. Okay, I turned my volume all the way down and I'm still getting these ding dong email bells notifications. But anyway, so since it was family and not just that guy who's going to punch you out the door for the slightest sign of disrespect, and the fact that we were all stubborn as mules, I probably unloaded on them more than once. So I guess technically, of course, I didn't get drunk first, so I take that back. I didn't get drunk and unload on my parents. So no, I can't. So I officially can't check that when I take it back. Geez, Fred's been in the drunk tank 4 times. Well, I'm gonna make this assumption right now, Fred. I'm gonna say that I'm faster than you. I did win a couple races with the cops in college that had I lost them, I would have been in that tank. Fred says it smells even worse than you'd think. I'm like, I don't know, that if you go in there real drunk, it's like your sense of smell is already kind of on the fritz anyway. I think waking up in the drunk tank would smell god awful, and I would think that's when a lot of the puking happened. That'd be my guess. Dang, Braska Rat, we got a lot of drunk tank men here. Braska Rascal, been there, done that. Let's see. Fred 4 times. Pitt didn't know the rules about no pie. I guess you can eat some pie. Just can't use it as the number. Oh God, let's see. Not telling that Frost joke. Corby asked for Fred's Husker score and went with 21-13 Nebraska. Going to bed, been a long day. Night, Fred. Thank you as always. I'm just checking the last of them here, and then we'll get her wrapped up. Let's see. Corby's heading out. Love a good night. Fred, night, everyone. Night, Corby. Loved having you. Well, appreciate the comments, buddy. Surprised you did that without GP ending you. But we never really got to mom's just gonna kill me. There was a few times where I knew it was time to shut up. Let's put it that way. Just for that. You know the look. I'm sure you probably learned it well as a kid. Let's see. Maybe Nebraska wins the Iowa game. Tell you what, Iowa is just the team that's all over the goddamned map this year. That's when they asked me, Iowa, Wisconsin, who do you take? And they ended up murdering Wisconsin. I remember my prediction in that game. Well, Wisconsin had won 3 games against teams by big scores, and I didn't think they were that much better than them, and then gave Penn State a pretty good battle. Even though I think Penn State's not quite top 5. I think most of the top 5 would work them over. But Penn State, or I'm sorry, Wisconsin, I thought, well, here's the team that's playing a little more consistently, whereas I would lose to Michigan State, crush somebody else, and they were and here they are all over mapped again, and hey, guess what? Now UCLA's 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. How about that? They're 4-5 after beating us in UCLA, or beating us in Iowa. But yeah, Iowa looks winnable. We'll see. Their offense certainly, I don't know how they've been getting their points. They've got an offense that's like 50 something in scoring, but like 100th in yards. So like the offense is, I don't know if just their defense is getting in the ball on short fields. It happened right off the bat in that game, and that was their only touchdown. I think was they picked one off and ran it back to like the 30 or something, and then walked in and scored, and then I think that was it for the night on touchdowns, unless they got a late one I forgot about, but I don't think they did. Yeah, that game certainly looks winnable now. Oh, the boss thing 4 times, drunk tank once. Okay, I was like, damn, Fred. Now we're having white. Like Braska, local city cop tossed me in drunk tank for walking while intoxicated. That's just bullshit there, unless you're walking, crashing into people, throwing up, well, while intoxicated. But if you're just swerving a little on the sidewalk, that's yeah, that's Hitler stuff. This is what Husker football does to a man. Fair enough. Pitt State spent a night in the brig. I got chased once. We were, let's just say, up on a billboard, like climb that ladder up to one of the billboards, and we're defacing a political ad, somebody running for office there in like 1983, and added some swastikas and a little Hitler on him. And here comes a guy like in a blue parka. It was a chilly night. Hey, what you guys doing? And he's still a ways away. And then somebody's, oh, look at that, look at the colors. That's a cop. So we go scrambling down and just took off in like 4 different directions. He chose to pursue me, and 18, 19-year-old Andy wasn't about to get run down by the man that night. Then another time, I think they were building like the Nebraska bookstore that's over there around 14th and R or wherever it is. And I'm assuming it's still there. And that was going up, and they had this fencing around it that was like wire tied with all these sets of wooden slats as like the temporary fencing to keep you out. So we were trying to get a bonfire going for homecoming the night before the football game, like that Friday night, or maybe it was a Thursday night. So there wouldn't be as many people out, and we'd stand less chance of getting caught. And we just called a bunch of friends and made it like it was somebody else's idea, said spread the word. And then we chilled for about half an hour and walked down to Centennial Mall, and here's just all this stuff getting piled up. Here's 2 dudes coming out of like the ATO house carrying like 2 full of those red cans of gasoline. And so we just started saying, hey, let's just get that fencing and take it. And so we brought a couple of those back, threw them on, and then went to get 2 more. And we're taking it through the alley behind the Lambda Chi house, I think it was. And sure enough, blue windbreaker again. We didn't wait that time. We saw that and took off. And again, he chooses to chase me and a guy who was much faster than me, who had trapped for the baseball team, and make it the first day because he'd run like a 4.5 40 and then get cut when they started hitting balls at him the next day at shortstop. But I mean, at one point, this guy's chasing us. We're going like 3/4 speed, and he's turning around, backpedaling and urging him on. And again, had it been Usain Bolt, drunk tank, I had been thrown out of the zoo bar in the 90s. Oh, wow. That takes some doing. God, great music. I saw, oh, God, two of the Blues Brothers band, Matt Guitar Murphy, and then what was his name? Blue Lou, the saxophonist. Saw them play together in the zoo bar one night. Back in the day, they left me through zero, left me in the back of a cruiser with air conditioning on in the middle of winter in Omaha while eating inside the diner, laughing at me. Let me go after they were done. Well, as long as you didn't freeze to death, I guess, that's, to me, I wouldn't recommend that. It is a dick move, but if it got you out of court, I don't know, that might have been worth it. Beetle now thinks of Iowa as our best shot, even though they beat Wisconsin, even though they destroyed Wisconsin. That's what I'm talking about with Iowa and Wisconsin. And here's the thing: it's like, shit. A couple of weeks ago, I thought USC might have been the best shot of those 3. That was when UCLA was our best shot. Remember? So yeah, I don't know who our best shot is. It may be another no shot, but by God, we're getting close to the GBR, and it would pleasure. It would give me great pleasure if they could do that in Southern California, because that would be their first win ever against Southern Cal. We are, I think, 0-5 lifetime against Southern Cal. Yeah, the odds of these games get a little better when you look at the fact that we have lost. We've never beaten USC. We've lost our last 10 to Wisconsin, going back to like 2011 or whatever, 12, somewhere in there, because we wouldn't play them every year. And we've lost 8 of our last 9 to Iowa. So you add that up, and I get that the USC, there's no recency there at all. But holy God, 1-8, 1-18, we were 1-23, adding those up. So, and what that tells me is it's got to come due. We're not 1-23 worse than those guys. So yeah, that maybe it'll let's just get it over with. I just don't want to get more and more like how it just goes downhill more each week at that end of the year, like last year. And I actually was sitting there for that Iowa game when it was like 25 out. Just, hey, we got a chance. Shit. Oh no, our third 13-10 loss of the game against Iowa. Jesus Christ. I don't need with them running over to taunt our guys on our sideline, as they were leaving the field too. Like there were several that like ran across the field to talk shit. God, I hate Iowa. All right, let's see. And not just because they beat us, but screw them. Yeah, there were 4 loud Iowa fans in the bar Friday night, like 2 couples, and were just shrieking like crazy because they get that interception, turn it into 7. And I was just like, I may just have to get my bill and get out of here. And I was just, and hey, staying with the theme of the drunk tank, I saw a T-shirt that says, "Some things just aren't worth jail." It's like, I need to be wearing that T-shirt, and I just need to get my tab so I don't start talking shit. As it was, they were done by halftime. They left. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, best blues in the Midwest, the old Zoo Bar. That absolutely. The tallest blade of grass gets cut first. That's right. And I may be 6'1", but I could move. Iowa 5th string quarterback. Yeah, that dude got just slammered, that backup quarterback, before that 3rd string kid came in. What happened to Cade? How can you get hurt? Did he get hurt again? Because he got hurt last year, and I just don't understand how you can get hurt handing the ball off on 90% of your plays. They should call their quarterbacks ball dispensers. They're just like a Pez dispenser. That's the only purpose they serve. I guess you'd have to make a special Pez dispenser that throws a pitch right or something. But yeah, why not? At 6-6, keep Tony White around. I don't know. We will see. I thought that like the Tony White calls. I thought after Illinois and then Indiana, I thought the Tony White for head coach train might be done for the year. And then Ohio State 21-17 kind of brought it back around, and he's still, around top 15, 20 defense. So I don't know. That, like many things, is it going to be, because he obviously didn't get an offer he wanted last year. He doesn't want to take one of those toilet bowl jobs that just ends your career. But like New Mexico State always comes to mind. It seems like, hey, at least I'm getting my Division I shot, and then you win 4 games in 3 years and you're done. We'll see. Our former head coach called himself a ball dispenser. Nice. Oh God, Vince Watson. I'm not putting that. I love you commenting, but I'm not putting that up there. 6 is the only thing that matters. 6 wins. 6 wins. If we win tomorrow, then we can tack 2 more on. 4. What are we? 5-4? No, well, yeah, with the bowl game, we could get to 9 wins to 0. That's correct. I would say, yeah. Same from Justin. Pitt says some things are very much worth jail. Yeah, I didn't say nothing's worth jail. I just the T-shirt says some things are not worth jail. As good as here we go. Dustin Waterman. Thanks for dropping in, Dustin. Appreciate the comment. As good as Holgorsen is, the Nebraska luck will be that we get the prorated version, insert more coins next year to get the full experience. Yeah, that's. What did Rhule say. He'd like 15 more points a game. That's a big get. I would love that. If that's a stepping stone to like a 45-point a game Holgorsen offense, so be it. I'd take it. Tell you what, Beetlebeast, dude. Peace out, everyone. I think we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. I just want to remind you guys, 24-hour rule column, if you want to read a little bit more instead of just having it spoken to you, that it's been coming out on Thursday. I always like get the idea, get it half written for Wednesday, and then I decide I want to screw around with a little bit more. So look for that on Thursday. As far as pods, look for John and Todd on Monday Night Therapy every Monday at 8. And then Greg and Minnie on the Five Heart podcast on Thursday nights. And do they start at 8 or 9? They might not start till 9, but 8 or 9. Just check the website, and I will try and find the time. So if I'm speaking it, I know what the hell I'm talking about. Which that and me don't collide a lot often in the same sentence. But let's take it. Let's take it out on Southern Cal. I may not be picking us to win, but by God, I'll be cheering for us to win and typing like crazy. Anybody that stops up into Tiger Tom's for the game, feel free to come say hi to the guy on your screen here who's leaning over his little laptop. That's what I'm actually staring into right now. Say howdy, and God, I can't say it any better. I just say go Big Red, and hey. Thanks you guys so much. I appreciate every one of you. Thanks for coming in and drinking with me on Tuesdays. It's a good time. I hope you'll learn a little something on occasion. I hope you get some laughs. I get plenty of laughs from you guys. I enjoy this time. Go Big Red, and we'll all be together in spirit there on Saturday in Southern Cal. And kind of wish I'd gone. Our photographer will be there, so the halftime recaps and the postgame recap on cornnation.com. Those should go up with some of Steve's pictures. He'll be emailing them to me. I'll get them into the articles. I really enjoy that. And with that, I think I've pimped a bunch of my brethren and sesterin many here. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great game day. Go motherfucking Big Red.